I've never cared about sport, period. I never was considered what you'd call a sporty kid, and I'd still remember the collective groan of my classmates back in primary school whenever the PE teacher assigned us to teams. Initially, my parents would try sign me up for a variety of sporting activities such as dance classes, swimming, badminton, but I realized quite early on that I wasn't very athletic. Maybe it was due to my mild asthma or my flat feet. Who knows? When I think about sport, for some reason my brain makes this association of it with nationalism, which personally to me is quite isolating. Why does a pledge to a certain team that represents a certain country matter so much that people become so violent and hateful that I am not seen as Australian enough just because I do not have a favorite footy team that I have been devoted to since I was like 8 years old? To keep it simple, I do not care. There we go. I finally said it. Yeah, I finally said it. It's always been so awkward whenever the topic of footy comes up as a general conversation starter back in my schooling days or even when I'm at work and just chatting with people. I don't care about these guys running around in tiny little shorts on a big field, kicking and throwing this weird egg-shaped ball between these giant posts and then getting chronic traumatic encephalopathy at the age of 40. See, I don't even know much about this sport. Maybe I am being quite close-minded here. But unfortunately, the stereotype I associate with being a footy fan is of the racist and misogynistic white Australian bloke who complains about his estranged wife and an immigration problem. It unveils an ugly side of Australian society, an aggressive system which institutionalizes discrimination and classifies people as alien just because they don't conform to the mold of being obsessed with sport, therefore are traitors to the national identity. It creates silence, stagnates conversation. It really is so isolating that it becomes a persistent little worm in my brain, reminding me that I am seen as an other in this country, even though I barely know a life outside of it. That I am not seen as an equal just because of the color of my skin. It unveils the pervasive colonialism entrenched in our systems, which invalidates anyone who isn't of Anglo-Saxon descent. I know, regarding the concept of colonialism, cricket. Gosh, why are people so obsessed with it? It is literally the embodiment of watching paint dry. The concept of a national identity becomes so inflated around the time the season starts, and people like me aren't seen as Australian because of their ethnic background, therefore an antithesis of the Australian identity. Oh, and regarding the South Asian community, it is so funny to see how much they relish in cricket, even though it is such a colonial export. For me, it creates an identity crisis. Am I a traitor then if I don't support or care for any of the teams? Then, how does one belong? Why is sport seen as such a normalized and socially acceptable way of creating a community, even though it has torn so many apart? Look, I know this isn't everyone's experience, and there have been improvements in diversity. Well, some. But I just want those rose-tinted glasses to be removed for once. See it from an external perspective. Sympathy for those it has hurt. And it it should be quite easy to understand one thing creating community for a certain group of people could isolate another. It should be fine that I don't care about sport because I couldn't find something in it for me that created a sense of community. And that should be the end of the conversation. Hopefully, you got that too. And maybe try not to ask everyone you chat to, how you've been keeping up with said sport as your next conversation starter. Thanks.